Everybody who is in content creation has to make a thumbnail. However, how do you create a good thumbnail? Now, there are 7 easy steps. Let's get right into it. The first one is using high quality imagery. Some people tend to use any image that they see on the internet. As long as it is relevant, they think that this should be the thumbnail that they want to use. In my opinion, I think that every single thumbnail, you should try to make sure that the images are always above 1,000 pixels. If you simply are not using high quality imagery, then it should be on purpose. You should purposely want the picture or the thumbnail to be blurry. But if not, then make sure that you're doing proper research using tools like Google search. You can basically use Google to search for similar images and then find a higher resolution of that same image across the internet. Really cool tool, very simple to do. Just right click on the image and then search on Google, and they'll basically do the rest from there. You use the settings and you make sure that you're taking down high quality images. You can also find high quality images across places like Unsplash or FreePic. These places offer free high quality images that you can use in your thumbnails without any form of problems. High quality images, it will also help you in many different ways. When you need to manipulate that image, you need to change up certain aspects of that image. When you manipulate images that are of high quality, you will get better results. Now, the next one is attention grabbing colors. If you've seen any of my thumbnails, you're probably watching this video because you've seen a thumbnail of mine, then you'll see that I use big, bright, glowing colors because these colors grab the eye. I personally don't think that people should use, like black and white thumbnails. Based on my research on what makes a good thumbnail, it's always about contrast. And one of the best ways that you can grab contrast is by using really eye-popping colors. Look at your RGB graph and make sure that you're not making it too colorful. If it is also too colorful, I think it can be overkill unless it is purposeful. All the tips that I'm giving here are normally how to find a balance between these two things. If you're purposefully going for a black and white image because it is relevant to your video or relevant to your style or relevant to what you're trying to communicate, then sure. But personally, I believe that colors will grab more attention, grab more viewers, and have a higher click-through rate. Look at Mr. Beast's channel, for example. He uses really colorful imagery for his thumbnails. He also does a ton of thumbnail testing, which is another topic that we can discuss in another video. But high quality images plus really eye-popping colors are statistically proven to grab more attention and give you higher click-through rates. Now, the next one is to make sure that it has readable text. Not every thumbnail has text on it. Some thumbnails, they're just visually telling the story or visually making you curious. And that is a really powerful trick. But sometimes you want to give more context. You want to add thumbnail text. I personally think that a thumbnail text shouldn't be too long because people are not going to read a thumbnail. Remember, thumbnails are really small. People are scrolling. They want to get the gist of what the entire video is about in milliseconds. And if you're using like a ton of words on your thumbnail, I personally think that is not going to be grabbing attention. I think the sweet spot is about 3 to 4 words just to quickly communicate what you're trying to say. Make sure that the words are big and bold because again, people are seeing this very small and they're most likely also seeing it on a phone. Majority of people who are using social media these days are using it through a phone. Make sure that when you're adding text to your thumbnails that it obeys these principles. The next one is relevant imagery. Maybe they're a graphic designer or maybe they have no sense of design and they just think, wow, this would look good as a thumbnail, but it has nothing to do with the actual contents of the video. In my opinion, that is not good. Whatever thumbnail that you have, you want to make sure that thumbnail by itself is able to sum up and communicate what your video is about. Make sure that your thumbnail images are connected to the context of your video. You don't want to make people think that they're about to watch this amazing video on something that is really spectacular, and then you bring them to watch something that is extremely boring and definitely not even on topic to what that thumbnail was about. So make sure that you keep your promises. Every thumbnail, you're promising something, and you want to make sure that you keep that promise by making sure that you're using relevant imagery and making sure that your images are high quality and all the other points that we stated before. The next thing is consistent branding. You can sometimes think of every thumbnail as a new direction. I simply believe that if you use a consistent font, maybe a specific color scheme, or maybe a certain type of border that I use, or glowing text that I use, this will help you for brand recognition. When people look at a Mr. Beast thumbnail, yes, Mr. Beast's face is always there, but suppose Mr. Beast didn't have his face there. I'm pretty sure that a lot of us who watch Mr. Beast's video and study, the type of effort and the type of work that he put in his thumbnails, I'm pretty sure we would probably be able to recognize those thumbnails regardless, whether his face was in it or not, because there are certain principles that are consistent with his branding. You want to maintain that as well. Whenever you're having a channel on YouTube, you want certain principles to remain consistent, and those principles should be communicated in your tone, in your text, in your vocabulary, in your color schemes, in your design, in the way in which you film videos, in the concept of videos that you do, in your post-production. And this remains the same for your thumbnails. You want to make sure that your thumbnails still have certain themes that are, central to them, and people are able to recognize and say quickly, hey, this is a video from such and such, even if your face is not there. Now, the next one is simplicity and clarity. You want to make it simple. I touched on this earlier when I was saying make sure that you have just 3 to 4 words in your thumbnail title, like as in the text that is on the thumbnail. Make it simple as well and make it clear. Make it so that when someone reads just your thumbnail alone, they're able to understand every single thing that this video is covering. What is the video about? What is the theme or what is the topic of that video? And does it also make the viewer curious? Does it drive fear in the viewer? These are certain types of emotions that you need to practice through your thumbnails and see what works best for your channel. But make sure that it is simple. Make sure that it is something that can be relayed in very simple words and people are able to understand. And if they are interested, then they're not confused about, is this about something else or so forth? And they are able to understand and grace you with the views if they are that much interested in your video. And this doesn't only go for the text. This also goes for the design of the thumbnail. You don't want to have too many things going on because you don't want to confuse the viewer. You know, even in simple design principles, they talk about flow and simplicity. You want people to be able to understand what you're saying visually without even reading anything on the thumbnail. You want to make sure that whatever you're doing on your thumbnails, make it simple. Don't make it some crazy huge collage of tons of things. Just make it simple and just trust that people will understand it. If you think that maybe it needs more or you have, questions about it and you're not maybe confident about your thumbnail, personally, I think that you should make maybe 3 or 4 thumbnails for that video. And then you do testing, maybe every day, change a thumbnail and see which one performs best. The last one is emotional appeal. You want to make sure that people feel something. And not all the time you're trying to make them feel happy. Sometimes you want to scare them because negativity sells online. I don't believe that is a good thing. I personally believe that we should go more for curiosity. But fear is a big selling point to a lot of people when they're making their thumbnails. It is my job to communicate that to you right here. Now, do I participate in that type of mindset? I don't normally. I try to be very clear and upfront about what people are going to learn in my videos. And I believe that people should also do the same. Now, you can do emotional appeal through your thumbnails in many different ways. You can use faces that have the expression of the emotion that you're trying to have your viewer to feel as well. You want them to probably feel shocked or excited or happy or sad. You want to also make it intriguing and interesting. You want to make people question, what is this about? Make them ask themselves questions. No, yes, I know it's about this topic, but what do you mean? You know what I mean? What is going on here? Make them have to ask themselves a question after looking at your thumbnail or reading your title and want to learn more about your video. They want to invest this amount of time in that video. These are the 7 steps that I believe that would make, really good and really compelling thumbnails. I'm probably going to make a video on thumbnail testing after this one. The next video that I think you should watch right now is our video on how to create consistent content. Because if you're learning about thumbnails, you're probably a beginner to content creation. We created a video on how to never run out of ideas ever. You can find it on the screen somewhere here. Thank you guys so much for watching.